From 2017 to 2019, the United States is observing the centennial of its involvement in World War I 100 years ago. As part of this commemoration, students from the National History Day program at Nashua-Plainfield were invited to take part in Who They Were, a program sponsored by the U.S. World War I Centennial Commission and National History Day. Who They Were is dedicated to engaging young people in communities across America to remember the men and women who served and sacrificed on our nation's behalf. This is the story of our community's World War generation. They were from Nashua, Iowa, and the surrounding rural area. Their families were mostly settlers from the East Coast who moved to Nashua after its establishment on the west bank of the Cedar River in 1854. They grew up in farmhouses and multi-story homes throughout the community, many of whose foundations were built and walls were plastered by A.T. Demro and Sons of Nashua. When they were very young, they played and fished near the Cedar River Dam, and many helped out on the family farm or with the family business. They learned to read and write at Nashua Public School or county schools such as Castor School in Richland Township, the McGregor School in Bradford Township, or the Auto School in Chickasaw Township. They went to services in Nashua at the Baptist Church, St. Michael's Catholic Church, St. John Lutheran Church, United Methodist Church, and the First Congregational Church, as well as the world-renowned Little Brown Church in the Vale in Bradford Township. The highlight of their summer was the annual 4th of July parade on Main Street and celebratory events at the fairgrounds that included games, horse races, and a baseball game. The end of the summer was marked on Labor Day when the annual Big Four Fair came to town. In the winter, they went ice skating on the Cedar River. They also watched basketball games and attended dances at the local opera house. They could hear the frequent whistle of trains and see them traveling through town on the Illinois Central Railroad. When they were older, many, like Frank Dan, worked alongside his family on the farm. Others adopted a trade such as Carl Demro, who learned to become a mason and plasterer from his father, Albert Demro. During World War I, the Nashua Woolen Mill shifted its production in order to complete a shipment of 200,000 blankets for a U.S. Navy war contract. Like other towns throughout the country, Nashua contributed all available resources as a part of the war mobilization campaign. Many men and women from our community served and sacrificed. One of them was Carl Demro, who grew up at 25 Wabash Avenue along the Cedar River. Demro was a private first class in the U.S. Army, serving with the 1st Ammunition Train of Company D. Demro was 28 when he was drafted on September 6, 1917. He was sent for training and was processed into the Army at Fort Des Moines. After training at Camp Pike in Arkansas, he departed for France on the SS Euripides on June 22, 1918. Upon arriving in France, his company joined the Allied Expeditionary Forces, fighting at the Battle of Aisne-Marne, Saint-Mihiel, and the Battle of Meuse-Argonne, which was the largest battle the U.S. Army has ever fought. After the war, Demro returned to Nashua, where he worked as a mason and was active in the VFW. Impressively, Demro was revered as a local hero for saving the lives of people who were drowning in the Cedar River on 4 separate occasions. Another local military hero was Frank Dan of nearby Saratoga, whose family moved to Nashua at the end of the war. Dan served as a private in the U.S. Army in the 33rd Division, 132nd Infantry Regiment, Company F. According to the Cresco Plain Dealer, Dan was the first man in the county drafted for military service. After training at Camp Logan in Texas, Dan was transported to France, where he fought in many military engagements, including the Meuse-Argonne offensive, where his regiment collaborated with the French in a dangerous frontal attack of the Meuse Heights on October 9, 1918. While the regiment accomplished its objective and captured Consenvois, Dan was seriously wounded in battle and later died from his injuries on October 10, 1918, only 1 month before the armistice that ended the war. Nearly 5 million Americans answered our nation's call. They fought in different ways and for different reasons. They fought to defend democracy. They fought to prove themselves to their fellow Americans. They fought to save lives. They fought for peace. They fought for each other. They did things no one should ever have to do, and saw things no one should ever have to see. Many of them came home with wounds and scars on the outside and the inside. Others did not come home at all. To remember those who lost their lives in all American wars, a memorial was built at the Chickasaw County Courthouse in New Hampton with a monument dedicated to the fallen heroes of World War I. In Nashua, Veterans Park was established in the late 1980s to honor local veterans of every American war. Those who returned went on with their lives. They got married and started families. They endured the Great Depression. The children they raised served in the Second World War and became known as the Greatest Generation. The World War I generation helped build our nation and society as we know it today. They were our past. We are their future. We are what they were fighting for. 100 years later, we honor them, we thank them, and most of all, we remember who they were.